morning. So, if you notice, I have some azalea trees. Sco brought them over last night. So I'm going to go plant those, and then I'm actually going to change things up today, Berbert. I am going to speed build some buildings. Let's get some buildings built for all of our dear little friends that are going to come join us. So, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, Berbert? Yeah. Uh-huh. Good job, Berbert. Well, see you at the end of the video, guys. So I started out by wanting to build a church. Originally, I'd thought about doing it as the cherry and the birch, just because I love those two very subtle pastel-y colors, but it wasn't quite fitting the vision that I had. And so I ended up scrapping it, and I ended up actually making it a little bit bigger. That way we could fit some good stained glass windows in the back to kind of really pull in more of the church vibes. I had a very slight vision that I was going with, but overall didn't really have a plan, and so it was a lot of trial and error. There's a lot that I actually cut out as I completely scrapped it and redid it. And a lot of it was a lot of me just sitting there looking at it for a bit. But I did eventually settle on this. I had a lot of wood to work with, because what you don't see is I spent several days just going back and forth, making all of those trees in the background disappear and reappear as I gathered as much wood as I could. So originally when I was making kind of this steeple, I didn't want it too tall. I wanted it to just kind of be small and compact, and I don't know, it started out working okay, and then I tried to put in a roof, and you will see in a second that it just doesn't quite work, because I was trying to do the upside down stair part, and it didn't fit right, and like I struggled with it for a bit, because it just it made the windows on the side too short, and so I couldn't add in the details that I wanted for it, and so I ended up scrapping all of it and chucking it up higher. It was okay, let's figure out this side roof first, and then let's build the tower up to match what my idea is. So it ended up being a little bit taller, and honestly this video makes it look a lot taller than it is, and it looks a little stretched. It's not that tall. It's actually really well proportioned, and it gives us that vertical height that we needed, because I feel like that was part of the problem, was that we had these shorter buildings, and so adding in this, and then there's one other thing that I add later, that's not a part of the chapel build, but it's a different build. They really add that vertical height that we needed and design that we needed, as well as the filling in that we've done. I really loved building this little towery bit, because I knew that I could just build straight up, not have to worry about it, because I had that water source right off to the right of me that I could just dive bomb into. And so I ended up making the roof really kind of straight up and down pitched. I just really wanted to play into that vertical kind of tall tower of a bell tower type situation. And so I just played into it, and I made it really tall and very straight up and down, whereas I normally don't. I am a round roof type of person. But I don't know, it fit, and honestly this has become one of my favorite builds out of all of the builds that I've done in this area, is just this tall almost cathedral. See, this is a much better angle. It makes it look very easy. Anyways, so I worked on the roof for a little while, and I added some details to the tower. And honestly, it made it look like perfect. So coming around to the back, I wasn't 100% sure how to do the roof, because obviously it just doesn't quite look right to have it just go all the way up. So I ended up doing backwards, upside down stairs, and it just kind of creates this almost like breezeway look. And I have never done it before, and honestly, I will probably use it again because it just added some variety to texture of the roof. I disappear over at the barn for a really long time because I didn't know what glass to use, because I had originally used the orange over at the barn, and I still had some of the orange and the yellow that we had tried when I was building the storage and barn area, and then I had some blue flowers. And so, like, I had these 3 choices. I wasn't sure what to use, and I ended up using all 3, and I really like how it looks. I like the pop of blue mixed with these orange and yellows. I still had some terracotta left over, and so I do end up using that for the floor, but it took me a day and a half to figure it out. I hate terracotta, but by the end of this experience, I have figured out kind of the system. I still struggle, but it's better. So I did end up putting a little bit of a detail on the front just to kind of mess with it, but because I had pulled those yellow colors in, I actually end up adding the bamboo door instead, because it really pulls that yellow in. So I have like bamboo doors. There's some trap doors on the inside that are part of my benches. But otherwise, that's the chapel done. Next, I started work immediately on the blacksmith shop. I had a vague idea on this one as well. Both of these builds, they were just very much like whatever happens kind of a thing. Not really planned out. Like some of these, they were very planned out. It was very much, this is the thing I want to build. These ones, it was a lot of, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just look at it. This one I had a really hard time because I really wanted to keep some of the wood like details and textures that we have throughout, honestly, the rest of the village. And it just didn't quite fit for a blacksmith shop, because blacksmiths, you're working with hot things, you're literally dealing with fire depending on the build that you build. And so it's just like, okay, I need to do some sort of stone. Plus I have all of this cobblestone and all of this mossy cobblestone already in my pocket from taking down this house. Plus the other house that we took down that was now where the carrots are, like I still had all of that. Because yes, we had used some on the farmhouse, but overall, like I didn't have any use for it. So I ended up making most of it out of the cobblestone and the mossy cobblestone, but I decided to add in some wood detailing here and there. Like if you notice, the roof supports, they're wood. I did do some wood like trapdoors and some upside down stairs and stuff that kind of really added it. So I also wanted to pull it into the roof. And so originally I had lined up the wood detail to be flat, but I liked the idea of having it more of an overhang. And so I literally built the whole thing and then was like, no. And so I literally sat there. You don't see it, but I cut it, and I sat there for almost a day. Like it was a long time. I didn't know what to do. So I ended up going over and I got some more cobble from the trading post from Brother. And I ended up smelting it up, and I made some stone bricks for myself so that I could kind of mix it up a little bit. And it wasn't the exact same thing as the walls, but it still gave that more stone and hard look that you kind of need when you're building a blacksmith shop. The wood I ended up shifting over, and then I actually dropped it down a level. So it's got like a bit of a pitch and a bit of a kind of different angle to it. And I really like it. So I don't know. Let me know if you like the vibe of this for a blacksmith shop. I also grabbed some iron to make some anvils, because I knew I wanted at least 2 more, because I already had one, but it was almost broken. And so I did grab some more of that from Brother. And so I made a couple of furnaces for in this shop. I did also make a cauldron so that like he could have a place to store water and stuff. Oh yes, and the other thing that I wanted to for sure have in was a fireplace. And so I ended up making this chimney, which you just saw me make, and I had a blast making it. I don't know, it just was really fun to just be like, and here's a chimney. So I did add a couple more details of just like, I did some signposts, and I made sure that the flowers weren't too close and things like that. And then originally, right after this, I was going to go and build something on the beach that I have right by my house. But I just sat there and I couldn't think of what to put there, and so I think what was really throwing me was this little shop. And so I ended up just taking it down, and I moved it all the way over here by the cactus farm. And I feel like that was the best decision I've ever made, was making a little house and shop all the way over here. So yeah. So I made this little home. I ended up having a villager come and move in, and he seems to be enjoying it. But I figure this guy can kind of be in charge of not only that cactus farm, but he can, run the shop. But I kept it pretty simple. It's a pretty basic build, I'm gonna be honest. I do end up adding a little area, a little paddock, because we do have that donkey that Sko gave us, and I just felt like it would be a really fun thing to have him have his own little paddock where he can be the person, like he's the go-between between our village and the trading post. And so I do end up adding that in just a little bit, but I really enjoyed like the little small details, even though it was a simple build. And so I really like this house. Is the long and short of it, is I really like this house. Like I add very small details, like I think I add some buttons on the side and such, but it's not a lot. Because of the fact that I don't own any silk touch things, so I couldn't get grass blocks, I do have to spread it, so it gets this fun little dirt trail. But yeah, that's basically that build. I then started on a fisherman's hut. I had a hard time with the color scheme of it. I knew exactly what I wanted to build. This was one of those ones that was 100% planned out to a T, of knew what I wanted to do with it. I just didn't know what colors, because the original idea that I had a lot of stone, and obviously I don't have a lot of stone. And so I had to kind of think of what wood I wanted. And yes, I did brutally murder that traitor. I'm sorry. But I figured out that I really like the acacia and the jungle together. It doesn't fully stay just acacia and jungle. There's a point where I switch it out, just because it looked too bland. But I knew that I wanted this one to be extra special, and so that's why it's so meticulously planned out. So I'm just gonna let it sit for a second and I'll add any commentary if I see it, but I just want to have you enjoy how this comes out, because I really like it. I will interject. The one thing that I really enjoy about this is the uniqueness of the roof. Because like I said, I am a very round roof person, and this is very not. Here comes my favorite part of the entire roof. Take a guess and tell me if you can figure out what it is before I'm fully done with it. Can you tell yet? If you can't tell already, it is a fish. I made a little fish for the roof. How cute is that? Oh, I love it so much. It's not even funny how much I love it. I did think that, this is where I start kind of messing with the colors of the entire build. Because as you can tell, it's kind of all one color. And I didn't quite like that. So I did start messing with it. This even isn't the full final. But I just needed it to pop a little bit more. And so when I eventually get the actual color, it definitely pops. But it does take me a minute to get to that point. I wanted the doors and windows to be very breezeway type of windows and doors. And so I kind of stuck with oak and jungle, and I think I also did acacia at one point. Just because I wanted those slatted ones. I originally was going to make this a lot bigger, and then I quickly realized how big of a dock that was going to be. And so things changed. I had a general idea for the dock of what I wanted to do, but it wasn't until I really started building it that I actually knew what that was gonna be. Also, they changed the way that gates work, and so now they don't do the fun little up and down design when you put 3 in a row. For those of you who play Minecraft, if you know what I'm talking about, let me know. I told my husband, and he had no idea what I was talking about. See, this is where I originally wanted it really big, and then it was just like, I don't know, that maybe is too big. I do this fun little trick where you do a stripped wood, and then you do a non-stripped wood all the way down so that it looks like it has been changed by the elements. See, this is the point where I was like, I think this is too big. But you know, you've got this wood that's being touched by this water, and so of course it's going to look a bit different, and so that's why you do it that way. You can also do it with stone, where you have regular cobblestone for your, or stone bricks for like the top layer, and then you go with the mossy for underneath the water, or like even one up so that it's like the moss is growing up the thing. So it can add a really good texture and variant that you don't really think about. So this is where I go in and I start changing things. So I add in some oak because I am also going to go in and change it so that there is a little bit more pops of that acacia orange that you get. But yeah, this is, I had to leave and go get a whole bunch of stuff and just be like, okay, here is the rest of this build. But yeah, I feel like it really changes it up, adding in the different colors, and this is where I started adding just the stripped, and that's where the orange comes in. So I feel like it looks better. Do you guys agree? I do end up, before I contour this for you, I have ended up moving the entire fishing house up a couple blocks, and I moved it back towards that other lake back there. I just felt like it was too close and that this dock needed a little bit more space to like shine. So I did end up moving that. But, and it, like, once I had the system down, like, obviously I know what I'm building, and so it was actually relatively easy to just be like, and here we go. I worked really hard and I made sure I got all the stuff so that I could do this. I got chains from Brothers so that I could add some details, because I made this fun little thing that looks like a fishing pole. How cool is that? Anyways, this is going to be the end of the video as I finish this out. So I hope you guys had a good time. And as always, happy crafting, guys. Happy crafting.